Good morning. This is John Marling, Pulse Research. Let's begin.
All right, you want me to just get going, John? Or
Just a second, I'm gonna do a quick intro. We've got a little technical problem here.
okay.
On behalf of Pulse Research, I want to say thank you very much for joining us this morning. My name is John Marling. I'm president of Pulse Research, and I'm very proud to welcome you to an exciting good news event. This morning, Matt Miller, Chief Revenue Officer of Trib Total Media in Pittsburgh, will share his story, how his team had their best month in 3 years. Like many in the industry, 2019, quite frankly, was a challenging year of declining revenue. Ad reps were constantly bombarded with print is dead. I know I made a lot of four-legged sales calls myself, and just literally every door we went into, the business is, well, print is dead. Matt realized that his advertising staff was product and price focused. They sold too many small ads with minimal frequency. Matt made the decision to move away from the traditional product price focused selling to audience value based approach and focusing on consistent 24 and 40 week multimedia campaigns, with his businesses. And the results were game changing. I want to welcome Matt to the webinar. Everybody is extremely interested to hear from you and how you broke the cycle of declining revenue. So take it away, Matt.
Okay. Well, thank you, John. I appreciate the introduction and appreciate joining everyone on this call today. I thought I'd start with just, I am fairly new to Trib Total Media. I started with the company last December. So I spent the first 20 plus years of my career with another local independent publisher. So we were, that newspaper group was sold in the summer of 2018, and I chose not to stay with the company when we were sold. In fact, I left the industry at that time. That lasted all of 2 months. As they say, for many of us, when you spend, I was sitting with I had lunch with a new sales rep yesterday, and I told him, you've got to make a pretty quick decision about the newspaper industry, because if you stay too long, you stay forever. And that ink in my blood is certainly where I am. So the point I wanted to make was that, while I'm relatively new to the company, this is my life's work in the media and the publishing industry. So just looking at the agenda today, really, I'm not going to go through each of these points. This is just kind of the roadmap that we used, kind of where we started, where we ended, and when I say ended, it's ongoing. We're really, while, the stuff that we're going to talk about today, started early in 2019. We really only launched it in the fourth quarter of 2019. So it's very much an ongoing process for us. So we're going to try and cover things that we think would be of most interest to you, in hopes that there might be a nugget of information or of value for you or your organization. So, just starting with challenges, like John had mentioned in the introduction, our group, our company was really hyper-focused on selling price and products. In fact, we did some analysis, and 58% of the ads that we ran in our dailies in the first 3 quarters of 2019 were like 2.5 inches or less. When I say hyper-focused, I mean hyper-focused in selling price. And, as all of you know, small ads with limited frequency just don't work. So, retention for us was based on price and relationships, and it's kind of a formula for disaster. So that heavy reliance on relationships is something that, it's obviously a positive thing to have relationships, but that can't be the sole reason that people are using you. We also had complicated rates and discounts. We had a lot of one-off campaigns. Campaigns is in quotes because it's not a campaign if you run one ad. And then, we as a management group, we were very focused on lagging indicators. So sales to goal and digital sales and account growth and new business, all very, very important things for us to be looking at and to be watching. But you really can't manage on stuff that's happened in the past. So we've made a transition from lagging indicator management to leading indicator management.
If I might jump in, Matt.
Yeah, sure.
A quick point here, and that is to your point about selling one ad at a time. Everybody's extremely busy today. I hear from all the ad reps how overwhelmed they are. And frankly, selling a 24 or 40-week campaign is very, very efficient relative to their time. So I just wanted to make that point and follow up what you said about, the reality of selling one-time ads.
Right. Yeah. I think that nobody chooses, sales reps don't choose to sell, one-time ads. They feel that they're forced into that situation because, maybe they don't have a belief in their product, or they're not approaching the sales approach the right way. So, I think that, it's definitely, there's an evolution that has to happen, first within within our organization, it had to happen. And then, that has to, you've got to be able to make a value proposition to your customer. So, that is, is on the objectives page that we're looking at now. That was the first couple of things on the list for us, moving away from price and product selling to audience value-based selling. Doing needs analysis, understanding what somebody's wants and needs are, putting together a proposal based on those needs, asking questions to make sure that that proposal meets those needs, and then asking for a sale. So that process is something that I'll talk about in a minute, but that was the main goal. And then the next one, the other objective, obviously, selling longer term campaigns. That's obviously good for us as a company, good for our customers, from their time management standpoint. So when I talk about the plan that we rolled out, there are lots of other things that were done prior to the launch of to really simplify our business model. So we killed many special sections. It's a very difficult thing to do, to walk away from revenue, but we took a hard look at those in 2019, and we chose to just walk away from sections that weren't delivering either value for us or as importantly, value for our customers. So we killed many special sections. We developed a whole new rate strategy, new rate cards. We're kind of in the process of rolling out our new media kits. So we have planned our entire special section calendar for the year. We rolled out all of the rate cards to our sales reps so that when they are developing these campaigns that we want them to develop, here it is January, and they have the opportunity to sell some, but to include a special section that we have planned for December in that media campaign. So there was a lot of work that was done by my team behind the scenes to get us to the point of being ready to sell these long-term campaigns. But we'll just touch on the big things. So the first thing in the plan for us was, we developed a simple but clearly defined sales process. Our process is four stages: engage, discover, propose, and close. We developed a document that really lays out every single one of these stages in pretty good detail for our sales reps. This process is linked to a defined step in our CRM. So we are launching a new CRM next month. So that's coming February 2020. But each one of these stages is linked to a defined process within that CRM. So So that was kind of the first phase. The second phase was training. That training would be for our sales managers and for our consultants. For the sales managers, we focused on we hired a trainer to work with us. We're doing bi-monthly training as a group. In addition, we're doing individual training, one-on-one training with that consultant and each one of our managers every month. We're working on things like accountability and delegation and conducting effective one-on-ones and really creating a culture of higher expectations. For the consultants, like we are doing rep ride-alongs. So our managers, we call them ride-alongs, but sometimes it's with inside managers, and they're sitting with their staff. But our managers that are managing outside groups are spending 2 out of 5 days every week on the road doing training with the reps. As I mentioned, we're doing those one-on-ones with them. We implemented a rep leadership team. That was a team that was elected by their peers, and the leadership team at the Trib, along with the rep leadership team, we do a lot of projects together, like choosing whether or not to kill a special section or to launch a new special section or update a product. So there's a lot of things that that rep leadership team's doing that I'm not going to get into, but one of the things that we've done, we're doing product training, vendor training. We're doing regular sales meetings. We're doing team meetings. So we're trying not to overload them. We try and pick and choose our spots, but certainly, we've made training. We've put training at the top of the list. As far as the sales plan, the slide that we're on now, we've launched the Pulse sales tools. So we did a soft launch of that in September of this year with a hard launch in October. We have made Pulse a part of our core KPIs that we're looking at on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis. It is truly, Pulse has truly become ingrained into our sales process. As you can see in this photo here. Sorry, John, go ahead.
One of the things that I'm impressed with, Matt, and I think others would like to hear, is, we work with about 600 publications around North America, and you are probably the best, your team in the country, in consistency of use of the Pulse sales tool, literally, and every week. And you've got about 40 ad reps, right?
Correct.
Every week, almost 40 ad reps are using the program. How do you account for that? I mean, that is something that I'm personally, just amazed and salute you for. How do you have such a high level of consistent week after week use of the Pulse sales tools?
Well, I mean, when we rolled it out, it just, it became an expectation of the job. We believe that strongly that, we needed to change the conversations we were having with our customers. Too many of our sales calls were starting with, hi, it's Matt Miller from the Trib. I want to talk to you about this special section, and I can offer you this discount if you sign by this day. We really wanted to change from I have a deal call to focusing on local research specific to each one of our customers. So we've created dedicated sales times daily. You can see in the photo here, I took this picture. We didn't create these little barriers to cubicles.
That's awesome.
Our sales staff did this, and one of the things that they told us is we're having these conversations, in their one-on-ones, is that man, it's just we know you want us to have dedicated sales times, that we're locking down email and putting our phones on do not disturb, but we have coworkers that come up and they're talking about their weekend or the holidays or whatever it might be, and we did not come up with this idea. In fact, I don't know that I wouldn't have dared recommend it, but man, do I love it. They just kind of put that little barrier across, and they're making they're doing their prospecting for the day, which is, I think the picture says a lot about how we're using the tool and how it's become a part of kind of our whole sales process.
Matt, I was pleased and proud to do the training there with your team. I think we did 5 sessions together over a couple days, correct?
That sounds right. Yeah.
And if you recall, the focus was, and you've mentioned this already, really breaking through. And so they really internalized the transformation from product price selling that you just mentioned, going out there with another deal, to really talking about your audience value, what's in it for the business. And I can see in your staff's eyes that they got it. And I guess my question to you is, how can other papers, who are on the call this morning, get their team to really internalize and understand what a game changer it is, going from product price selling to really engaging with the business with, the audience value of what's in it for them?
Yeah, I guess that's a tough one. For me, I think that for our group, they wanted something different, so like one of our sales reps after one of the trainings we did, in fact, I think it was Michelle Upton, who, the photo is up here, said to me that it's the best thing that has been presented to her as a sales rep since she started with the company, and she's been with the company for 20 plus years, so I don't know that we did anything special that man, it resonated with our group. I think they were tired of making those same I have a deal calls. They know what that looks like, and they were ready to try something different. I'll touch, I don't want to spend too much time on the slides, but I'll touch later on some of the challenges, the obstacles, and, adoption was certainly one of them. But, as people saw other people having success, success breeds success. So you see Michelle Upton, really embracing Pulse Research and having success with it. And then, others, they joined, they got on board.
Well, awesome, Matt. Absolutely awesome.
So I mentioned our KPIs and really trying to focus on leading indicators. So we call this our daily 4. So these are expectations that we have of our staff each day. So it's 8 sales calls. 2 of those calls are new business calls. We call them proposal draft reviews, but they're just proposals that we're putting in front of customers. So 3 of those per week, and then 3 pulse teasers by 5 daily. So we call that 3 by 5. I can tell you, as a 20-year newspaper ad guy, 8 sales calls per day was a very difficult one for me. It just feels like too little. But we really, as a group, talked about what are we expecting of our sales reps for each one of these calls. One of the things that we say over and over again is that there's really no excuse in this day and age for any of us to ever do a cold call. There's so much information available, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube or the business's website or a million other places that you can gather. And Pulse provides us with a lot of information, but there's a million places that you can gather data about your customers. So to walk in cold in this day and age is really you just shouldn't be doing it, or we believe you shouldn't be doing it. But with that said, doing the research that you have to do, and even if it's just on your cell phone, sitting outside of a business, takes time. So as much as I'm a believer in, you've got to, activity breeds success. I also understand that we've got to give people the time we have a higher expectation of what an initial sales call looks like. That takes a little bit more time. So we did land on 8 calls. It's still tough for me, but we're having some success, so I'm not ready to change it yet.
Some may ask
as far as obstacles.
Matt, some have some questions about the 3 by 5. Kind of share a little more details on the 3 by 5 and how you were able to get your staff, engaged in doing the 3x5. 3 teasers by
Right.
5
Yeah.
days.
Sorry.
Filling the pipeline.
I should have expanded on that. So, Pulse has a number of different tools that you can use to. Sorry, I'm getting another call. Pulse has a number of tools that you can use to engage prospects. So, like you can, they have a one sheet that you can use. They have a teaser that you can use. That teaser can be used in an email. It can be used, it can provide the framework for like a script for a call. So, we really don't, we don't tell our reps, hey, you have to, to use, this particular version versus this particular version. We just expect to use them that they're going to do that, 3 of those each day, every single day. So the teaser versions, they're meant to be leave behinds, like for outside reps, meant to be leave behinds, and instead of leaving a special section, or a business card, you can, print these out, you fold them, wrap them around your product or your special section, you attach your business card to it, and it's providing one piece of data, and so that data is specific to their business. So that's one of the things, the research that we have through Pulse is specific not only to Pennsylvania, not only to Pittsburgh, but to our customers at the Trib Total Media. And there are, and I don't even, John, you can probably, you can answer this better than me. There are, I'm not even sure how many business segments have been, are touched on within the research. But, like we don't get stumped, if we're talking with an education customer, we have data on them and pizza. Sorry, go ahead.
Over 600. So literally any business category they can think of. There's an opportunity to do a teaser and start the conversation.
Right. So, if you're a rep is walking in to see a chiropractor, they print out that teaser. If they know that, man, it's going to be tough to get in front of that person, they have that teaser there ready. They leave that, and like I encourage our reps to just write a little note that like, hey, you're looking at this piece of data that we did some research on, chiropractors in our market. And did you know that, whatever, I'm making the numbers up, that, 2,550 people are going to be looking for a new chiropractor in the next year. So, you leave them that piece of data, you leave a little note that says, if you'd like more information on this, please give us a call. So it's changing, again, the conversation from, I'm leaving you a special section to I'm leaving you with information that would be pertinent to you and to your business, which is a good thing. Mm-hmm. All right. So as far as obstacles, so 4 main obstacles that I touched on. Budget. We launched Pulse mid-year, so it was an unexpensed, or it was an unbudgeted expense for us. But the same conversation that we have with advertisers on a regular basis, we developed unbudgeted revenue as well. So certainly, as you'll see in the results, the expense that we took on with Pulse was easily outweighed by the new revenue. So technology, so like utilizing the Pulse tool, I think is really, really easy. It's very, it's intuitive. It's, I think most of our staff got it like pretty quickly, but there are some nuances to it, and, we have varying abilities on our staff. So, we I think John mentioned we did 5 kind of opening sessions for our staff, training sessions over a 3 to 4 day period. And then we did, like weekly sessions, and, the first few weeks, I believe, were required. And then we, as we continued with them, they became like, hey, join if you'd like. Just getting people up and comfortable with technology took a little bit of time. I mentioned adoption. I'll just touch on it again. Not everybody bought in right away, but as I mentioned, success breeds success. People, they hear others having success on the phone, or they, like see in the numbers that somebody's meeting their budget. There's an encouragement there to get on board, because we were having success with the product, or have been having success with the product. And then the last one, filling the pipeline. And I can honestly say that we're not there yet with this one. So like as we looked at our KPIs, that third one, the 3 proposal draft reviews weekly, that's what I look at as filling the pipeline. It's the area that we've had the hardest time, like getting proposals in front of customers. We're doing a really great job in creating the one sheets and the campaigns. We just need to do a better job, and it's hard. It's not like you can just like say to someone, hey, you need to do this. They've got to learn the skills to take a customer from a prospect to being willing to accept the proposal. So as I mentioned, we're only 3 months into this, and we're still learning, but we believe we're making strides in the right direction.
Matt, excuse me, Matt, would you concur that once a business realizes what's in it for them, their benefit, they're much more interested in a formal proposal campaign so that they get their share?
Yeah, I definitely think that, like utilizing research as the lead in our conversation has changed the dynamic of sales calls for us. So it's not, it has, it's taken some reps longer than others to really start to understand and perfect that science, or art, maybe, I guess is a better word for it, of utilizing the data and getting someone interested. But from the moment that you're able to show somebody that you have research specific to them and their business, that's kind of that's been the game changer for us.
Awesome.
Okay, so the next slide, is, as much as you want to believe everybody's just going to get on board because there's success, we also decided that, it's just something that it's a kind of a condition of working, in the ad department. So we created this daily Fourscore. We track this on a daily, weekly, monthly, and annual basis. As each of our KPIs that we're utilizing, the 8 calls daily, 2 business calls, the 3 PDRs, and the 3x5 daily, all leading indicators. I will say, as you look and see the grades over on the right, I imagine that there's a good portion of people that might cringe when they see it, and I got to be honest, I'm one of them. It makes me uncomfortable to look at grades for sales reps. But with that said, I should say, it's like, I don't want to create this negative culture of, like we're, like Big Brother looking over your shoulder. And, but on the other hand, like this is a system that everybody understands. Everybody understands that, like, hey, I got a B, I got a C, I got an A, I got an F. Everybody gets it. And, like we've gone back and forth on, like what is the best way to really track what we're doing. And, like I can tell you, this is a screenshot of our shared document that we use to track the daily Fourscore. And beside each one of these people, if you see an F next to someone, I can guarantee you're going to see that, this particular rep had, 2 PTO days that week, or they had time off, or there's some reason why somebody is not getting to the number. And like we went back and forth about whether do we adjust it. So like if somebody has 2 PTO days, do we only make them accountable for 3 days that week? But in the end, like what we decided was we have created these KPIs, and we've set standards of this is what you need to do to succeed. This is what you need to do to make your budget. And the fact that somebody has a PTO day or they've got sick time or like whatever it might be that like takes them away from their work does not change the fact that like this is what's needed to succeed. So I'm not saying that we ask people to sell on their days off. That's not it at all. We've just decided not to. Yeah, we've just not decided to take out, the expectation. So somebody can see at the end of the month if they came in at 95% of the goal, 95% of goal, and we look back at the daily Fourscore, like we can kind of show them like, hey, this is where our breakdown would be. This is where we fell short. So like if you would have made, more sales calls or focused on more business or got more proposals in front of customers. So anyway, this is a report that, we take very seriously. I know our salespeople do, our managers do. It is included in my weekly report that goes to the president of our company. The board of directors gets this report, and the trustees of our company get this report on a weekly basis. So it's something that we all take very seriously.
Well, I want to just jump in, Matt. Congratulations, because having been an ad rep in my career, ultimately, they understand they have to do to get. And I would presume that you've got team members there that are making more money than they have in the past, right?
Sure, yeah.
Because they're out there engaging, they're out there getting longer term campaigns, and they're making more money.
Yeah, absolutely. It's had an impact on, I think that, the vast majority of our sales reps, well, I shouldn't say the vast majority, the majority of our sales reps are making goal, so better than 50%. And, we're not in a situation where we have sales reps that are missing goal by huge amounts. It feels like manageable opportunity for us to move them from where they're at to goal. So yeah, it's but you've got to track it to manage it. So these KPIs are they can be a moving target for us. They could be different 6 months from now, but at the moment, these are the KPIs that our management team believes we need to manage towards to hit our budget.
Congratulations, Matt. We've got some questions coming in. I thought we'd answer a couple of them right now. One is, what constitutes a sales call? Is it, email? Is it in person? Is it phone? What's the definition of a sales call? You said 8 per day.
Yeah, for a sales call for us means that you spoke with a decision maker. So, an inside person may have to make 25 calls to talk with 8 decision makers. An outside rep, might have to, talk with, stop in at, 10, 12 places to speak with a decision maker. Like I say decision maker, and there's quotes around it because, like we are pretty lenient on, like what constitutes a decision maker. It doesn't have to be, like the owner of the business or even the person who would make the final decision. It could be it could be a gatekeeper that, helps to get you in front of someone. So we're pretty lenient in that regard, but yeah, so we're working towards talking to someone that it could help us to ultimately make a decision to buy advertising.
One point I want to jump in, Matt. I'm sorry for interrupting all the time, but you reminded me of, you have been very successful with your inside teams in engaging with the businesses with information about and for them. In other words, audience value. I'll be quite frank, across the country and North America, including our Canadian friends, that's not been the case. What do you think you attribute to the success of your inside people using the audience value information over the phone? How did you accomplish that?
Well, we've got we've got a great inside team. We've got a great inside manager that is leading this division. She really understands and gets Pulse, and like she has made it a priority for her team. We've got some champions. You go back to that picture of someone that's blockaded their office and said, "Don't come in." On prospecting. When you have product champions like that really embrace something, others see it, and like our group, they all kind of sit within like a fairly close to each other, so they hear each other on the phone. They know they can hear what's working and what's not working, and
Perfect.
when they hear someone make a call and like they actually move the dial, and like maybe they whatever, get an appointment, or they're going to work on something for someone, those guys all hear it. And so it's success breeds success, as I've said a couple of times. So I really think that it's the leadership team in that area, and some product champions that have paved the way for us.
Well, if you don't mind, we've got some other questions here, Matt, that have
Sure.
come in. What is the 3x5? 3 by 5 p.m. And a clarification there.
Okay. Yeah. So that is, we have the Pulse teasers. So we have an expectation that our reps are going to deliver like 3 Pulse teasers by 5 p.m. Each rep has to deliver 3 Pulse teasers by 5 p.m. each day. So that teaser could be, and I had mentioned this before, you can use the teaser as a script for a phone call. You can copy and paste and use it for an email. You can print it out and wrap it around a special section or a product. It could be a one sheet with more data for a customer. So there's a lot of different products that we use, but like 3 Pulse products have to be used for in their prospecting each day. So does that make sense?
Yep, exactly. And then on the screen that you have up right now, a question relates to the goal of 18. So the goal is 18 per day, 18 points per day, and that's based on 8 plus 2 plus 3 plus 5, right? 8.
Oh, I'm sorry. So like those are all weeklies. So like 8 sales. Yeah. So 8 sales. If you're looking at, let's just look at that first one across the top.
Thank you.
So like, Jennifer Timon Williams, she has a goal of 8 sales calls daily. She did that 4 out of 5 days. 2 new business calls daily. She did that 5 out of 5 days.
Thank you.
3 PDRs weekly. She did 3 out of 3. And then 3 by 5 daily. She did that 3 times. So she hit 15 out of her 18 to be at that 83% and got a B grade.
Excellent. No, I got to salute you again, Matt. This is a great mechanism for accountability, but for tracking success. And you mentioned being negative versus positive. I see this as being very positive and reinforcing, those sales steps or process that lead to more commissions. Okay. Another question that I had here was, and you don't need to answer this in case it's proprietary, the average monthly revenue per sales rep.
Oh, it varies widely. So we have sales reps that are, like they've got $1 million territories, and we have sales reps that, might be selling $20,000 or $30,000 per month. So it just varies widely by, like where they're at, where somebody is at, and, what the opportunity is within their area.
Okay, great. Well, sorry for the interruption, but we had some questions come in. I want to make sure we're answered. So let's move on.
Okay. All right. So on this next page, this is just kind of getting into the can you guys hear me? John, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm sorry. So getting into the results page. So this is, the sheet that you're looking at here is just a screenshot that I pulled from Pulse. So our consultants, managers, leadership can all look at this data anytime from any device. This report was for 2019. So again, I mentioned that we did a soft launch in September, a full rollout in October. So I really look at this as like 3 full months that we used it. So you can see the number of presentations we created, the number where we engaged, the number where we presented, the number we sold, and the number of people that said no. So, I think that the key the stat to me that stands out is that, if you look between, the number that we presented and the number that we sold, like when we are presenting a proposal, we're closing it more than 50% of the time. So, that is something that, as an organization, we need to really work on. I've mentioned that, the getting proposals in front of customers has been the toughest part. We've got 7,000 proposals created, and we've engaged 2,500, but we've only presented 500. So, as we perfect with, the art and the science of, our sales process, we hope that we're going to get more people, proposals in front of more people. That closing ratio will almost certainly go down, but the total number of new won business should go up.
And I just want to reinforce that these are campaigns they're closing.
Right. So on the next slide, just kind of total revenue. And again, this is straight out of Pulse. This data is available to any manager and any rep. So managers have different permissions than reps. So managers can look at their entire team, like my boss could look at like the entire company. So we've presented about $5.7 million as you read down through this. Of that, $100,000 that we've sold, a little over 102,000 was renewal business. Nearly 365 was new business. So we've, in the 3.5 months really that we've been at it, we've closed, about $486,000 using the Pulse tools. And, obviously we're really happy with, $500,000 in revenue. I'm really, really happy that, 75% of that revenue, is new revenue, which is really cool. But, as someone who's always trying to, look for the, where's your next opportunity? I look up at that unsold revenue, that $5.6 million, and think, the majority of this has not been presented to customers. So, we just have to keep managing towards getting more proposals in front of prospects. That's number one key goal for us, to continue to move the dial.
We had a question to come in, Matt. Sorry for the interruption again. Is your team presenting a blended print and digital? Or print only, digital only, or both?
Yeah, so we're selling everything. So we have daily newspapers, we have weekly newspapers, we have community shoppers, we have a commercial print facility, we sell promotional products, we've got a full digital agency, we sell direct mail, we're a local partner / reseller of Velasys. So our campaigns are very much multimedia campaigns. So that answers the questions.
Yep, thank you, Matt.
Okay. All right. So last slide. We launched in Q4. October was our best month. Kind of the name of the webinar today. October was our best month in more than 3 years. So we made our quarter as well. We feel really good about where we're at heading into 2020. I had originally, I feel good, but not great about where we're heading in 2020. But I took that out. I feel really good about it. It's just, there's lots and lots of opportunity for us. So many things that we can do. We've just got an amazing group of people, amazing group of managers that, I have the privilege to work with, and, a really great sales team. So there's just so much more opportunity for us to utilize Pulse and other, things that we're doing. Yeah, we're feeling good about where we're headed, but know there's lots of additional opportunity.
Well, I want to thank you very much, Matt, for your time today, and we appreciate very much the opportunity, to support you. And I just want to say to the group, if you have any questions, send me an email, and it's marling@paper.net, and more than happy to answer them. But do you have a few minutes, Matt, for any questions that anybody would like to send over the chat function?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. So any questions for Matt?
I do see one question, John, I'm just going from the bottom up.
Okay.
Someone is asking about sharing the PDF of the presentation. So I will, there are a couple of updates that I made. So I will send a PDF to John, and John, I'm sure you and Pulse can send that out to the group.
Yeah, be happy to. Awesome. Okay, well, I want to thank you, Matt. Oh, pardon? No, there's some more questions. Sorry. Could you see them, Matt?
Yeah, there's like pages of them. So where do you want me to start?
So Brian's here with me, so.
Okay, so starting from there's just a few that we haven't got to yet.
Okay.
So what was the initial or general commentary or reaction from established advertisers when the reps changed their tactics from selling based on price to selling based on audience?
Yeah, I don't know that like anybody really like said to me like, hey, we like we had this interaction with a current customer. I look at this as just all positive, and I think that's kind of how our sales reps look at it as well. As now we've got real-time data available for our customers to make buying decisions, make better buying decisions. So I didn't really hear any feedback that there was one way or another that a different approach from current customers.
Okay. And then another question here is, do you recommend that the sales reps themselves set up their time for doing these calls, or do you set that 9:30 to 10:15 time slot?
Yeah, so we in our sales process we have kind of like our defined selling times for outside and for inside sales reps. However, it doesn't matter to me, like within reason, I don't think that like if somebody's working 7 to 8 p.m. at night, that would be great times to be making outbound calls. But within reason, like all we really care about is that, like they are making the calls and spending the time and using, setting time aside every day. So, like if I remember correctly, I'd have to look at it, but, in our sales process, we've set aside kind of an even amount of time in the morning and an even amount of time in the afternoon. But like if one sales rep thinks like, man, my morning is just slammed and it's really hard for me to set dedicated time aside for prospecting in the morning. So maybe they do a little less prospecting in the morning and, a little more in the afternoon or vice versa. We really don't care, as long as it works for them.
Okay, and I think that gets to the other question here about managing time, being an inside and outside salesperson. And then the final question we have here is, how many campaigns were dropped when bills started coming in?
I'm sorry, can you, how many campaigns were dropped when
the bills started coming in for the advertiser?
I'm not sure I understand the question. So in other words, like we sold a campaign, an advertiser was like billed and like was unhappy with the total and stopped.
I think that's
the question.
I believe so.
Yeah. I can't say that I tracked that number. I can say that, like, I don't want this to be a, like a product demo for Pulse. Pulse is just a piece of what we're doing here. But, there is a closing tool that is part of the Pulse set of tools that we use with our clients. And, so you're figuring out, okay, so the campaign costs $1,000 and the average value of a customer is $1,000. You're going to do this over the course of 5 months. Here's how many people that you need to close. Oh, and the average cost of goods sold is factored into it as well. It's just like a really handy little thing that our reps can pull up on their phone as they're talking with customers. But we use that to really get to okay, it's not the total revenue. Don't worry so much about what the expense looks like. Do you think that you can bring in 3 new customers over the course of this campaign to pay for it, or 10, or whatever the number is? So there's a tool that we use, and when someone sometimes people say, no, I don't think I can bring in 10 new customers over the course of this campaign. So there's a little kind of thumbs down thing that you can hit as a sales rep, and you say to them, okay, so if you don't think that you can bring in 10 new customers, what is a reasonable amount of customers that you think that you could bring in if we ran a campaign like this? And they might answer 7 or 6 or 3 or 5, whatever it is. Sales rep can kind of plug that into that little tool, that little widget. They pull it up and say, okay, so a $5,000 campaign doesn't look like you would be comfortable with that based on what the return on investment looks like. But based on what you're telling us, if we could win you 5 new customers, a $3,000 campaign at this point might be a better place to start. Does that sound good? So the point I guess I'm trying to make is that our customers have a really good idea of not only what the investment looks like, but what the return on investment looks like. So I don't think that we're getting a lot of pushback that somebody doesn't want to continue because of the pricing, because it's been clearly spelled out. And I think when people understand that return on investment, it kind of takes it to another level.
Right. Well, I sure appreciate it, Matt, and thank you very much. And I'm proud on behalf of Pulse to be on your team. And to everybody who was participating in the webinar this morning, thank you very much for your time. A lot of people have asked, well, what's the next step? Well, Pulse will be doing a follow-up webinar that we'll send you an invite to. That'll focus, on the real world, the sales training, the execution, getting the adoption, that Matt reinforced and talked about. So look for that in your email. And thank you very much on behalf of Pulse. And thank you, Matt. Appreciate you.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Have a good day, everybody. Thanks.